It's said that if you visit the school toilets at exactly 3:33 and 33 seconds, morning or night, you'll find the doors locked and you'll no longer be able to escape. Before long, you'll hear the voice of an old woman calling from somewhere nearby. This is the 3 o'clock granny, and her true form is something that looks like a water stain on the school walls. This stain resembles an old woman and, when you get close to it, smells like blood. At 3 o'clock, this stain disappears and moves towards the toilets instead. Painting over it does nothing either. When a teacher once tried to paint over this ghastly stain on the wall, it simply moved to the first floor instead. Even now, children can still hear strange cackling coming from the toilets when no one is around. Hello, and welcome to Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. I'm your host, Tara A. Devlin, and on this show we'll be looking at different urban legends from Japan, how they came about and, when possible, the truth behind them. If you want even more urban legends, make sure you pick up Toshiden Volume 3 for a whole bunch you'll find only in the books. And if you haven't checked it out yet, we also have our own store, with shirts, mugs, stickers, hats, and much more. You can find that at kawabana.store. That's kawabana.store. This week we're looking at one of my favourite subgenres of urban legends, Grannies. The 3 o'clock granny and the purple granny in particular. First, let's look at the 3 o'clock granny. This particular old woman can be traced to an elementary school in Tottori Prefecture. From 1973 to 1979, children feared a stain on the third floor wall that just happened to look like an old woman. This stain was caused by a leak in the roof, but it didn't take the students long to create a story to go with it. This stain was actually the 3 o'clock granny, they said, and if you entered the third stall in the toilets on the third floor at exactly 3 o'clock, then something strange would happen. This no doubt brings to mind images of Hanako-san, who, in much the same manner, haunts the third stall of the third floor toilets. It must get busy in there sometimes. The exact time differs depending on who's telling the legend, but it's either 3 o'clock exactly or 3:33 and 33 seconds. If you're in the toilets around this time, you might want to hurry up and finish your business. Otherwise, you'll find yourself locked in with a creepy, cackling granny making her way towards you. What happens if she ever reaches you is unclear. Perhaps nobody ever stuck around that long, but some reports state that she won't let you out until you're finished doing your business. Other times you might hear a voice calling, "Help me," from inside the toilet. And she's often the subject of blame if people go into a toilet after 3 o'clock and find that it hasn't been flushed. Because it's easier to blame a scary old woman than it is to flush the toilet, apparently. After the rumours started to spread, however, one of the school teachers reportedly painted over the weird stain on the third floor, at which point the children claimed that she moved down to the first floor instead, where she continued her reign of toilet terror for several more years. 3 o'clock granny isn't the only old woman keeping time, however. She was likely inspired, at least in part, by the tale of Hanako-san of the toilet. But there's also the 4 o'clock granny, a similar legend inspired by children's fear of the unlucky number 4, the number of death. As the story goes, 4 o'clock granny also similarly appears at either 4 o'clock exactly or 4:44 and 44 seconds, and sometimes only on April 4th. If you knock on the toilet door 4 times, or if you're unfortunate enough to be in the toilet at this exact time, she'll appear and drag you into the 4th dimension, from where you'll never return. Unlike 3 o'clock granny, who originally spawned in a single school in Tottori Prefecture, her 4 o'clock friend first appeared in the mid-1970s throughout the Tokyo, Osaka, Aichi, and Shiga areas. She is, of course, a play on the word 4, which has the same pronunciation as death, and is considered an unlucky number. This is notched up to the max, and she's said to appear at 4 o'clock or 4:44 to drag you into the fourth dimension, wherever that is. Yet, because of her lack of a concrete origin and the fact that she exists in so many places, 4 o'clock Granny has a wealth of variations as well. In some cases, it's said that running into her will cause you to become paralysed and she'll lock you in the toilets. Sometimes she even kills, strangling you with a red scarf or slicing you open with a sickle, a favourite of Japanese monsters all over the country. Sometimes she might even ask you what your favourite colour is, much like Akamanto, and if you answer incorrectly, she'll kill you. The correct answer, by the way, is the nonsensical 4 o'clock Granny colour and skin colour. Nobody is quite sure why. It's also said that if you draw a circle on the blackboard, or in the toilets, and place your hand in the middle, she'll suck you into the fourth dimension that way as well. So be careful with your art and graffiti projects. 4 o'clock Granny, unlike her 3 o'clock stain on the wall counterpart, is said to look like an old woman drenched in blood, pushing around a pram full of bones. Sometimes she might appear as nothing but a set of eyes, but either way, if you're unlucky enough to see her, her visage is terrifying. Her story became popular nationwide during the early 1990s, thanks to a long-standing tradition in an area of Joyo City, Kyoto. At the Mito Shrine in Tereda, a large Emma, a votive picture, roughly 1 meter long and 1.5 meters wide, depicts an old woman in a kimono, and this was said to have been created during the Edo period. Children in the area have long passed down the story that this old woman is actually the 4 o'clock Granny, and in this case, she kidnaps children who don't return home by 4 o'clock. As the story of this spread throughout the country, 4 o'clock Granny became famous even outside her usual haunts, and known to children all over the country. Beware the number 4 in all its variations, but also the number 3, because 4 was already taken, perhaps. But what about the purple Granny? She's said to appear in the school toilets too, also like Hanako-san. They call her Purple Granny because of her purple clothes and lipstick, and she appears on the roof or crawls out of a hole in the wall. If the Purple Granny appears before you, she will pull you through the roof or the wall into another dimension, or in some cases, cut you up and remove your insides. The only way to escape her is to wear something purple yourself, or to chant, "Purple, purple," and then she will go away. Much like her name suggests, Purple Granny's special characteristic is that she wears purple. That's it. She wears purple. In some cases, it's just a purple kimono. In others, she also has purple lipstick. Either way, you can tell it's her because of all the purple she's wearing. She's first thought to have appeared in the book Gakko no Kaidan 2, published in 1991. Here, she's given a backstory as to why she likes purple so much. As a young girl, Purple Granny was very poor. She only had an old, tattered kimono to her name. The daughter of a wealthy landowner who lived nearby, however, had a particularly fancy purple cape that she adored and wished that she could try on for herself one day. And she got her wish. Kind of. One particularly windy day, the wealthy landowner's daughter was wearing her purple cape outside. The strong winds blew it from her shoulders, and the child that would become Purple Granny picked it up. The cape was gorgeous, and she went to give it back to the other girl, but the girl screamed. She accused the poor girl of being a thief, of trying to steal her purple cape because she was so poor. This poisoned everyone against the impoverished girl, and they all assumed her to be nothing more than a petty thief, even though all she had done was pick the cape up so she could hand it back. In the end, the girl grew up lonely, poor, and eventually died of old age, the world thinking of her as little more than a thief. The home she died in was eventually sold, and the land turned into a school, with the toilets being built where she had died. As such, her vengeful spirit returned to the spot where she died, clad in the colour she had once envied, but in the end had caused her so much pain. And the only way to get rid of her was to wear something purple yourself, or to chant, "Purple, purple." This is the most common story told about Purple Granny, but it's not the only one. She also appeared in the book Murasaki no Kagami, Mokuyo no Kaidan, Purple Mirror, Thursday Scary Stories, published in 1996, just a few years after her appearance in Gakko no Kaidan. Here, Purple Granny appears out of a mirror in the school toilets. If you're unlucky enough to be there when she appears, then she'll drag you back into the mirror with her, and you'll disappear forever. Another version from the same book features a different Purple Granny. This one is the grandmother of a child who was bullied to death. The grandmother goes to the school to complain, but the school ignores her and brushes her off as a senile old woman. They claim the child died in an accident and nothing foul was afoot. In a rage, the grandmother cuts her own ears off in protest, claiming that she won't listen to their lies anymore, and dies shortly thereafter. After death, she haunts not only that school, but various schools around the country, attacking children at random. A story almost beat for beat, this same tale also appeared in Hell Teacher Nube in the late 1990s, so it's thought that this was, in essence, a retelling of that same story. She also appears in the book Kai Hyakumonogatari, published in 2003. In this version, Purple Granny was a beautiful woman with long hair that reached her backside, long fingernails, and she wore a purple kimono. She also wore flashy purple lipstick, but it's interesting to note that here she is a beautiful woman clad in purple, rather than an old lady like her name would suggest. The Gakko no Kaidan Encyclopedia, published in 2009, even refers to Purple Granny at one point as Hanako-san's aunt, and at various points over the years, she has been linked to all sorts of monsters who also appear in the school toilets. It must surely get crowded in there. Regardless of the version you hear, three things always remain constant. Purple Granny appears in the school toilets, she wears purple, and wearing purple yourself, or simply saying the word, will protect you from getting shanked and or dragged into the wall. So, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you may need to use a school toilet, maybe wear some purple socks or something, just in case. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. You can help support us and get early access to both this show and Kawabana over at our Patreon at patreon.com/TaraADevlin. And if you want even more urban legends, Toshiden Volume 3 is available on Amazon right now, so don't miss out. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time for even more Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kawabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kawabana.net now.